Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Real Estate 360 Live. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined today by my guest, Louis Cammarosano, the general manager of HomeGain. Quick reminder, Real Estate 360 is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's housing and credit markets one house at a time. If you ever have any questions, concerns, whether it's related to real estate, credit, mortgage, whether you're having to contemplate what you should do if you're facing foreclosure, but you want to know if short sale is your option, I can help you make an informed, educated decision. If I can't help you in any department, I'll make sure that I find the person that can. The phone number is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. Or reach out via the web at realestate360live.com. That's realestate360live.com. So I wanted to... Louis, you had actually shot me the, I believe it was from the MRS Statistics, which is the multiple listing service in the Washington, D.C. metro area, which covers a majority of the D.C. metro region. And they actually had reported, and this was from last week, that pending contracts in the area rose 11.1% in February relative to the same period in 2011. With that being the case, they weren't necessarily evenly distributed all across the D.C. metro area. There were some areas that had actually outperformed others. I believe it was, Prince George's, Anne Arundel, Fauquier counties. They were actually had risen by like 25%. And then some of the actual areas that were off of the 95 corridor declined in Prince William, Stafford, Spotsylvania counties. And I think that's interesting, Louis, because within those counties, there were more of the foreclosures and short sales, but the inventory in those areas is actually very low as well. So, like I had spoke earlier, if there's not as much inventory out there, then there's less houses that can actually go under contract. So, I think that overall in the DC metro area in general, I think that it's just very, it's very, very competitive out there. There's numerous deals that clients that I've actually been working with that they can't get a house, and they're on their third or fourth contract because they're getting outbid. Now, throughout the country, this is not necessarily the same theme that's taking place. I would say that the majority of the country, it's still pretty solid buyer's market. In the D.C. metro area, you have to be very aggressive with your offers. It used to be where, every time you go into the seller, you could probably come off the price a little bit and also ask for them to pay your closing costs. What we're seeing now is actually where if you really want the house, you have to not only, make a firm, probably full price offer, but also, be willing to pay your own closing costs. So that's a big shift, Louis, when we start seeing that, sellers aren't having to pay as much closing costs as they were before. That to me is really telling me that there is that much, I think it's more of a supply and demand issue than anything else, but it's really making the values of homes go up. Now, even though there's been a lot of people that are bidding more for the home than the actual list price, it doesn't always reflect what the house is actually going to sell for, because in a lot of cases, the appraisals don't come in. And if the appraisal doesn't come in, then 9 times out of 10, the seller has to reduce the price to the appraised value, and then you move forward with the transaction. But I think it's just very telling that people are, just so anxious to get into a home these days that they're willing to not just pay, but overpay for a home. This is a similar circumstances to what took place when we had the housing boom and bust.
Do you think it's similar in the intensity, or are you just seeing...
Similar in the intensity, where it's kind of like, there's a lot of people that want to take advantage of these interest rates, right? So they're like, okay, they're actually settling, I think. They're settling because they're so, they just have been searching for a lot of people for 6+ months, and they haven't been able to get into a home. So the next house that comes on the market, and if it's in that aggressive price range of $200 to $400, then it's, multiple contract situations after the first day. So, I think this has more to do with the supply and demand issue than anything else, but it's also kind of scary to me. I mean, the only thing that kind of makes me feel good about it is that the majority of these loans that people are taking out are 30-year fixed mortgages, which before they were interest-only ARMs or negative amortization ARM. You know what I mean? So
I would say in this case, in the former case during the housing bubble, I would be worried about the home purchaser buying those ARMs. Now I'd be worried about the bank lending a 30-year to the home buyers because it's not really a good bet for 30 years to get 3.5–4% back.
Yeah.
With future inflation and future higher interest rates.
Yeah, and it's
for the home buyer.
Well, and why on the flip side to that too, it's kind of like, okay, so let's say 3 or 4 or 5 years from now when interest rates are maybe back to maybe like 6%, what's going to actually happen when those interest rates start to rise, I believe, is that the home prices will actually fall again. So it'll be back to the same situation. I'm just hoping, and I explain this to most people, and I'm sure that, when we talk, Lewis, you and I kind of have the same thoughts about this, but you're buying a home as a long-term investment, for a place for your family to live and whatnot. A lot of people still do kind of look at this as, hey, I want to be able to buy a home and make some money off of it. And while that does and can happen, you need to be able to say to yourself, hey, I can stick in this loan for, X amount of years so I can actually pay down some of the principal. And if I do have to move, I should be able to get out of it.
Right. If your primary purpose is to make money in real estate, then buy a REIT or buy investment properties. Don't buy a home to live in and expect to make money off of it.
Absolutely. And
you don't expect to make money from your car unless you're going to use it as a taxi.
Right. And if you are looking to make money in real estate,
really,
and
it's an expense, Ryan. I mean, you're putting out your shelter expense and you're using a mortgage to do it, and hopefully it'll be less than your rent, and over time there'll be some money that you'll get back from the sale of the house.
Yeah, and there's also the added tax benefits that you get from it. You do get some perks from it, and it's just more or less now. And I think that this is the other thing that's really driving the demand of people that want to buy homes is the fact that they're just looking at what the rental prices are at this point, and they're like, well, if I'm going to pay that, I'm definitely going to just buy because it doesn't make sense to rent. And I think it's taken a little while to get to that point, but now we're at that point. We have, all the people that planned on buying a home this year, and then all the people that all their leases were coming due, and they're now stuck in making a decision, making a rushed decision of, hey, what do we do? Do we just go buy a house? And I talk about this all the time. This is where, you should be probably way ahead of the curve and starting to say, even if you plan on buying 2 or 3 years from now, you need to get your game plan together now. Because what's happened is you have all these, and this has created, a situation where people are, 50 to 100 different people all vying for the same property. Now, that's probably a little overstated there, but just so many people that are in the same price range that are all trying to obtain a similar payment. You know what I mean? Because that's what, they were paying $1,800 in rent, and they can pay $1,600 and get a solid home to live in, where they're actually going to lock in their cost of shelter like we talked about for 30 plus years. And it makes sense. There's just a lot of people that are searching for the same thing right now. And like I said, the DC metro area is an anomaly to the rest of the country, but at some point this will start to spread throughout the rest of the United States as far as rental prices. I just believe that, because I believe that there's a lot of investors out there that are really starting to buy up all real estate in general. I mean, you've sent me numerous articles, Lewis, and you and I have talked about this. Investors and hedge funds and everybody else, they're all looking to get their hands on real estate.
The only thing stopping them is available financing or their cash positions. And if they have cash, then they can buy. Yeah.
And there are a lot of hedge funds that I know of that are, probably, I'd say, got $400 or $500 million that they're just buying up real estate. Some of them are buying holds. Some are buying just distressed properties, fixing them up and reselling them. That brings me back to the other point. If you are interested in becoming a real estate investor, you can still do that. I'm just saying, if you're trying to buy a home as your primary residence and think you're going to make money off it, that's probably not the best thing to do. Just because the markets don't really work that way, and you need to make sure that you're actually buying at the right price in order to be able to turn around and sell it, a year or two later, and sometimes shorter time periods than that. But then you have to actually be working with a professional like myself that can help you make that educated decision on the type of property you're trying to buy, and buy something that's more in a distressed situation where it needs work done to it. It's run down, has to have certain things, and you put maybe $30,000 into it, and you can then justify an increase in value of maybe $70,000. So there are those opportunities out there. I'm not saying they're not, But the average person just going out there to look and buy a home, it's probably not going to work out that way. So, there are definitely real estate investment opportunities. In today's market, there will always be those opportunities. And, if you're interested, I'd be glad to kind of point you in the right direction to where I think, there are good deals to be had. And, you can always protect yourself if getting into those deals. If you're not able to resell, you could still, rent those properties out and have a solid return on an investment there. Investing in real estate is definitely a good thing if you're able to do it and understand it, but it's not for everyone either. 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030 is a phone number. One other quick thing before we go to break. I just want to bring up this article that it was in the KCM blog, but it's what it means to be an expert in the real estate field. And I thought it was interesting because they showed two different things. One is being if you look at a real estate agent as an attorney with a legal challenge, and he or she is going to look over your case. They're going to give you your options, but they can't guarantee that you're going to win the case, or they can't guarantee any of the outcome of the options that are out there. But
they're representatives.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to lay out what they think's probably going to happen, and they give you the best advice possible, and then you're going to decide on the option that you feel the most comfortable with. And I think it's important for all of you out there that are buying is to do the same thing when you try to figure out who you want to work with your real estate decisions and transactions, is that you need to work with somebody that really knows the local area that you're trying to buy or sell a home in. What they're going to be able to do is simply, lay out and effectively explain all the options that are available to you and your family. And then once you choose an option, they're gonna give you and help you strategize a plan that will help you accomplish your goals. And I think it's really important that you take the time to really find that person. And because if you're going to hire an attorney to take your case, I believe you would do the same thing. If you were going to hire a doctor and trying to figure out what the best outcome for your situation for any type of injury, you would really do your due diligence. And I think it's important, and what's going to be probably one of the largest financial transactions of your life, to do the same thing with a real estate agent.
But apparently that's not what people do, Ryan. There's a statistic that many and maybe most people pick the first real estate agent they meet.
Yeah.
And they should really shop around. I'll put in a plug for HomeGain. We have a program right off of HomeGain.com, the Agent Evaluator program, which allows home buyers and sellers to compare real estate agents anonymously and choose the one that's best for them. That's the only way you're going to know that you're actually getting the proper representation, is by comparing realtors and finding out what their plans are to help you buy or sell a home, what their rates are, what their experience is, and so on. So you go to HomeGain.com, you have an opportunity to compare realtors.
Yeah, and that's a great way for people to get started, Lewis. I mean, I can't recommend it highly enough. We're coming up on a break. When we come back, how can you potentially buy a home before actually leaving school or college? When we come back, I'll let you know.